In most of Michael Bedard's paintings, like in Angelica, Why Women Love Horses, the landscape represents only accessory parts. It is needed to create the location for the main motif and does not play an important role. Bedard has also painted dedicated landscape pictures, however, that do not contain animals or human figures. This part of his work has a special significance, as we will later see. Bedard's landscapes are firmly within the tradition of American landscape painting. They are concerned with interplay between virgin nature and human influence on nature. The destruction of landscape, industrialization, and urbanization did not enter into American art until the end of the 19th century. In North America, which attracted many immigrants, the beauty and uniqueness of the landscape was the element uniting people from diverse nations. One sought one's own identity in geography and put the sublimity, power, and untamable force of nature in the foreground. In early American landscape pictures, nature represented national greatness. The two artists who have shaped Bedard's landscapes the most are the US painter Edward Hopper and the Canadian Lauren S. Harris. The interplay between pure nature and human intervention in the landscape is an important theme with Hopper. The great majority of his landscape pictures contain buildings that influence the composition to different degrees, but the pictures that remain in memory the most are those in which the buildings are quite dominant and completely suppress nature, like House by the Railroad and The Lighthouse at Two Lights. In Bedard's Storm on the Prairie, the house heavily worn through by the storm, the building completely dominates the canvas too. Bedard's landscapes with buildings are in part based on paintings by Lauren S. Harris, who himself did not depict any buildings. Harris belonged to the Group of Seven that was founded in 1920. This artists' group founded a new Canadian landscape art that found its motifs in the regions of Algoma and Muskoka and later in the Arctic. In Harris' picture Island, McCallum Lake of 1921, a bizarre island in the Algoma region is overgrown with trees, but it is not a naturalistic reproduction of vegetation and is not perceived as real. Harris does not copy nature, but presents in his pictures the intellectual processing of the peculiar and mysterious. By bringing buildings into his island pictures, Bedard changes the character of the picture and reduces the impression of a supernatural realm. Bedard's painting No Island is an Island thus conveys a completely different impression and transmits another type of message. Bedard's iceberg paintings take up motifs of two of Harris' pictures, icebergs, Davis Strait, and Mount Lefroy, both of 1930. In these paintings, the nature corresponds to an almost untouched natural state. In Bedard's painting, however, traces of shaping and design by humans are unmistakable. All Arctic paintings by Bedard depicting floes and icebergs contain houses and thus reflect the human building activity. Bedard's most enigmatic landscape is Outpost, whose composition originates in the world of Bedard's imagination. Here, nature and human constructions form a perfect harmony. The buildings in the middle ground are integrated in the forest and, in a kind of mimicry, camouflage themselves in the colors of the environment. The only reason they stand out is that they are bathed in sunlight. The factory's waste pipes descending into the waters and the smokestack towering into the sky repeat the forms of the terrain, namely the arch-like contour of the rock left of the buildings and the vertical tree trunks. So they do not seem to threaten the environment, but to be part of the existing ecosystem. Vice versa, the forest seems to adapt to the buildings. We find no foliage, but only felt boughs, but these do not give the impression that the trees are dead. The painting radiates a magical stillness and calm, and seems as if nature and culture had found a desirable balance, as in paradise. Bedard's landscapes An interplay of nature and culture are not photographic reproductions of nature, but invented landscapes. The integration of buildings makes them appear closer to reality than Harris's paintings, because pure nature, untouched by human hands, is very rare in our world of experience. On the other hand, the presence of buildings in the pictures intensifies the unreal impression, especially when they appear in large groups. The proportions of nature and buildings in Bedard's landscapes vary from picture to picture, thus creating a range of effects. There are pictures of isolated buildings in the landscape, which can take on a dominating role. Pictures in which the buildings are subordinated and almost concealed, fitting themselves into the overall pattern, and pictures in which the buildings seem like foreign bodies, overgrowing and suppressing the originally present nature. For Bedard, landscapes represent not only the power of nature, but also the power of human progress. He sees justification in both, and he consciously avoids making a value judgment. His landscape paintings are thus neither appeals against the destruction of the environment, nor proud evidence that humans have subjugated the earth. Bedard himself is very worried that the natural balance could become upset and the rainforests and oceans be destroyed. But his landscape pictures are not meant to be accusations. They seek to depict the beauty of nature as well as the beauty of the world created by humans, and to show that both have their justification for existence. Bedard's landscapes can best be described by the expression disturbing harmony. They seem different on second glance and leave an undefinable impression. The colorful, bright, and powerful pictures initially appear calm and harmonious, but the perceived interplay between nature and the buildings, which are often factories, forces the viewer to recognize that the initially perceived or suspected beauty and harmony can be a deceitful illusion. Only a closer look reveals the fragility of the depicted landscapes. Even Bedard's landscapes, like most of his work, highlight the fragility. In this case, the fragility of nature inhabited by man. Their main characteristic is that no figures are required to evoke this fragility. Thus, Bedard's landscapes represent a unique aspect of his work.